Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We're also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are breaking out our 2025 redraft bust candidates for this draft season for you guys. So we will rotate one by one and let you know who our busts are. Starting with Jeff, who is your number 7 bust?
All right, number 7. Man, you're going to hate this one. I have him undrafted, but he is currently going ADP 96. So that's roughly 100 spots lower than where he's going. He's an 8th rounder, and I have him as undrafted. And that is wide receiver Juwan Jennings from San Francisco.
Wow. Is there any particular reason why you're low on him this year when a lot of other people are talking him up a little bit?
So at some point, the stats are going to have to come from somewhere. And if Purdy, as I had mentioned on a previous podcast, has 4,500 yards roughly, I have 500 yards, a little bit more to Christian McCaffrey. To the backs total, I have 741 yards. And then if you add in Ayuk's 1,000 yards, you add in Pearsall's 750 yards. That's where I got Pearsall right now. And then if you add in DeMarcus Robinson's roughly 400 yards, and then you have Jacob Cowing, who's doing well right now. And then you got a few other lower tier receivers like Russell Gage, Jordan Watkins, Isaiah Hodgins, and then you add in George Kittle's stats, you're at 4,064 yards, and that left 488 yards for Juwan Jennings left, and that does not make him a startable NFL wide receiver.
Interesting, Jeff. Where do I have Jennings?
Pretty high, because you wanted to put him on your sleeper list, but you ended up with Ayuk instead.
I have him as my number 35 wide receiver, and I have him at 895 yards.
Jeez. What do you have the rest of the team at? What do you have DeMarcus Robinson at?
I don't think I gave him. I shorted him of all the people on that team.
What do you have Pearsall at?
Pearsall, I have lower.
What?
Actually, I have him higher in yards, but lower in points.
Okay.
I have him at 909. I'm sorry, I'm off the wrong line here. I have him at 873. 873.8.
You have him more than me.
Yeah,
I just don't know where all these receiving yards are coming from.
Because Brock Purdy can sling it, baby.
How many receiving yards do you have total for the San Francisco 40?
Let me clear my filters here and go over to San Francisco.
Clear your filters. Start your engines.
Let's see. 4,350.
Okay, so you have even less passing yards than me, and I have less pie to Jennings. Interesting. I knew you weren't going to like that one. We talked about that. I told you there was going to be at least one or two that you're not going to like on this list.
69 is what I have. Okay. No, 43.69.
Okay. And I have him at 45.52. So we're in the ballpark. And yeah, who is your number 7 though?
Well, I'm glad that I had a good amount of preparation here. I am going to stick with Jonnu Smith as my number 7. He is going as the tight end 8. Sometimes I've seen him go as high as the tight end 6. But he is slipping down draft boards, especially with the talk about him getting traded to the Steelers, which would only hurt his value. Even if he stays with Miami, I can't see him reproducing the numbers he had just this last season. He had a lot of tight end screens because the run game was ineffective and not working, and I expect the run game to improve at least marginally and him to get less target share. Also, Tyreek Hill wasn't very effective, missed games, and kind of quit on the team a little bit. He is trying to claw his way back in the good graces. So I can't imagine Jonnu repeating. I have him as my tight end 15, right? So I see him coming down.
I also have him as my tight end 15, so I feel you, and I would love to hear who your number 6 is.
Oh, my number 6 is Zay Flowers, wide receiver with the Baltimore Ravens. Is currently going as the wide receiver 32. No, that's Jordan Addison. Where is Zay Flowers? Oh, sorry. He's going as the wide receiver 23. I have him as my wide receiver 32. A little confusing with the reversible numbers here, but I am just still not high on the whole passing offense for Baltimore, and I don't see him finishing top 24 at the wide receiver position. I still have him decent points here, but yeah, I think he maxes as a wide receiver 3, and I don't want him ranked in the top 24.
Yeah, I have him wide receiver 30, and I actually erased him off of my list as I was cutting him down, but he was on my bust list as well. So we are in sync so far, and to continue being in sync, my number 6 is Jonnu Smith for all the same reasons that you said, so I won't dive into it much further. I was going to get rid of him because of the Steelers news, and I feel like he's going to fall down boards. But here we are at the beginning of June, and he is still a Dolphin, and I think that I will not own him no matter what team he is on. All right. So I can just hop right over to my number 5, also a tight end. I know he's one of your favorites, but he is going at 102 overall, and he's going at 67 overall. I have him at 102 overall, and that's full 35 spots below, so about roughly 3 rounds later, and that is TJ Hawkinson, tight end for the Minnesota Vikings. Down on Hawkinson this year.
He's going to be fully healthy. He's going to have a young quarterback that was most successful throwing to Colston Loveland when he was in college. It seems like he would have a connection with the tight end position. So I actually like Hawkinson this year. He's my number 5 tight end above Kelsey.
What?
So yeah, I'm big time in on him, and he's actually ADP wise going tight end 5.
I have him at
Average
10.
pick is 7. Average pick is 75 based off what I'm looking at.
Okay.
So
But I still have him in the hundreds, so not today, buddy.
wow.
Not today, Hawkinson. But I have him at 129 points. He's like in the 3rd or 4th tier of tight ends for me.
I mean, he's in the 3rd tier of tight ends for me, but that's just a higher position in point total, probably.
I just don't know how many yards that JJ McCarthy can be expected to throw for, and a good chunk will go to Justin Jefferson. So I don't know how much they're going to leave behind for your Jordan Addison, your Rondell Moores, your Jalen Naylor of the world.
Well, I think the pecking order would go Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison, and then everyone else is way below.
I have Hawkinson and Addison swapped, but yeah, same. I just have them with
But
3 touchdowns. I think that's probably the difference that we have right here.
you have Hawkinson with 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
I have Hawkinson with 5.9 touchdowns.
And that's the difference right there. If I upped him to 6, I just want to see what this would do really quickly. It would put him at 7 on my list. So that is really the difference right there. Talking touchdowns. If we ever come up with a new podcast, it's going to be called Talking Touchdowns.
There you go. I like the running back runs and quarterback guns. I think that would be a good one. But anyway, what number are we on now?
So that was my number 5. So we're on to your number 5.
Alrighty. My number 5 is someone who I like as an NFL talent, but I think in redrafts he's getting taken too high in my opinion. And that is Omarion Hampton. He's being taken as the running back 19 draft wise, and he's being taken as an early fifth round pick. So pick 46.53 is the average. I have him as my running back 28, and that's mostly on backloaded production because I think he eventually takes over as the majority ball carrier in a very crowded committee. I like him for 2026 especially, but this year, you have Najee Harris who is signed under contract for this season. They still have a claim on J.K. Dobbins. They brought in another running back as a undrafted free agent, I believe. I like what they're doing, trying to build a power run game. I like Omar Hampton again. Talent wise, he's an enormous human being, and he's very physical, he's very talented, very athletic, but it's too crowded right now, and I don't think that they're going to give the reins to him out the gates.
What running back did you say you had him?
I have him 28.
I have him at 39, so I hate him a little bit more than you do.
Well, I think it's entirely backloaded. I think he'll get a good amount of points for fantasy playoffs, but people are going to draft him early and end up maybe cutting him at some point as the early bye weeks come around.
Yeah, and there is a chance that Najee just catches fire and Hampton doesn't see the field.
Now, there's also a chance at the flip side, there's a chance that Najee just has no juice in him at all and they turn it over to the young guy, but you can't count on that at a early fifth round value. That's too high of a risk right now, in my opinion.
Absolutely. All right, so who is your number 4?
Now, should I go with the higher ranked player or the player who just drops the least, Jeff, between my 4 and 3 here?
That's totally up to you. I would go with the higher
I'm gonna
ranked player. Unless you
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the guy that like he nominally counts as a bust. I don't dislike this guy, and I can't fault where he's being taken at, but just how my numbers shook out. I have Bucky Irving as a very light bust. Like he is going as the running back 10. I have him as the running back 15. It's not that much of a drop, but he is being taken in the second round. I think he should be a fourth rounder.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think he's guaranteed to get a heavy workload this year. I think he's the nominal leader in a three-headed monster. I think they want to get Sean Tucker a little bit more involved. I think White has a prove it year this year, and he wants to try to earn his next contract somewhere. So I don't think Bucky is going to get the same kind of workload.
What RB do you have him?
I have him at 15.
I have him at 10. What's his ADP?
His ADP is 10.
I'm right at ADP. I like when that happens. I don't plan for it.
Dynasty wise, I think I would put him a little higher than 10, but redraft this year, I think that there is some possible regression, just a little bit.
Well, then you can just buy low after the year after that.
Right.
All
in
right.
Dynasty, yeah.
All right. Are you ready for this? So, my last 4 are rookies, so that needs to be explicitly said to start. I kind of divided this up with veterans and rookies. I think the rookies are being all overdrafted and they could completely bust your season. My first one is Travion Henderson. I have him at 98 overall and he's going at 66. So that is a 32 spot difference, roughly 2.5, 3 round difference. And I believe that, and I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with a previous episode of ours on the sleepers, where I had Ramondre Stevenson on there. So it felt like to me, looking at this, they had Stevenson and Henderson swapped right now because they want Henderson to be the back that leads. But I still think early season, you're going to be looking at Stevenson being the guy. And he could be the guy throughout the year because he just signed a new 3-year deal there. So we will see. What do you think about my Travion Henderson pick?
What running back did you have him at?
I have him at 41.
And he's being taken on average at 25.
Yep.
and he's been taken at average 63. That's too high for me. I am
Too
closer
rich.
to your side on Henderson for the 2025 season. Again,
Too
I
rich
think
for
it's going
my
to be
blood.
I think it's going to be a three-back committee. I have him at 29, right below Hampton, actually. So I'm closer to ADP actually than you. But I think there's a chance he gets involved more than Hampton early on, but he's never really been a workhorse back. I think he could be a nominal leader in a three-back committee with Stevenson and Gibson. So I think he could be like a consistent contributor, but I think his upside is limited to whether or not he makes a big play that week or not, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense, but let me hop over to my 3 here, and that is a guy that you just mentioned, Omarion Hampton, who is going 96. I have him at 50, or he's going at 55. I have him at 96, and that's 3+ rounds, almost 4 rounds later for me. So I do believe in Najee still. Year one of these rookie running backs are going to not be as good as we think it's going to be. I don't think you have too much to say on that, considering you had just listed him.
Yeah, I agree. I like these guys in Dynasty, and I like these guys especially for 2026, but we're talking about 2025 right now, so we're on the same page here.
Yes, sir. All right. So, who is your number 3?
Well, you're probably gonna dislike this one, but number three for me is Rashee Rice, Kansas City wide receiver. Uh, Legal trouble in the background. He's being sued in the civil court for more money than his contract is worth. Still to be determined if any criminal charges are coming. It's coming off of an injury. It's a more crowded room. I'm just not sure if this guy has his head on straight. He's got talent, but he's gonna probably miss time potentially. More stuff coming in the background. He's another incident away from guaranteeing suspension. I'm saying he's going as the wide receiver 19. I fluctuate on this guy. Like I can see him as high as 25 in my personal opinion, or as low as maybe 31. And right now I have him at 30.
Oh boy. I have him. Let's just get my ranks pulled up here. Would help if I'm in the right position group. And so I have baked in a 4-game suspension, and I'm not really sure that happens this year now from everything that I've been reading on it this week. But I have him at 31, but that's with the 4-game suspension.
He's potentially going to be living off ramen noodles until he can get a potential second contract because between legal fees and potential settlements with all the individuals that he got in a car accident with because he was racing at 116 miles per hour on a crowded Dallas freeway, and a fourth person just came out to sue him. So it's just constant egg in the face with this guy. Like I said, he's got the talent, but now I think that he's got enough competition that he won't get the same number of targets when there is no one else there. I don't know. I don't like him.
The person or the player?
If the player can get on the field, he's fine.
That was your number 3?
Yeah.
Number 2.
My number two is a quarterback, and that is Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commanders quarterback. He has been taken as a top three quarterback in drafts, primarily due to his rookie success and his rushing upside. I think his rushing numbers come down. I think his interceptions go up. I think he's going to hit a sophomore slump, and I have him as my quarterback 8 for the year. So I think he's gonna get overdrafted by a few rounds here.
I have him quarterback 4, so that doesn't necessarily resonate with me, but I'm sure there'll be people out there that appreciate your opinion, especially if it comes true. All right, number 2 for me is going to be a wide receiver that's a rookie, and that is Tet McMillan. He is going at 70 right now, so he's roughly a 6th to 7th rounder. And I have him at 131, which is roughly an 11th rounder. 61 spots different, so that'll be 5 rounds plus difference. Alex, what do you think about Tat McMillan here?
You had him at what spot?
So for wide receivers, McMillan is wide receiver 50.
You think Ted McMillan's going to be a wide receiver 50? Oh man, he is currently going as wide receiver 28.
Yeah.
ADP wise, and I have him as Carolina's #1 wide receiver. I have him at wide receiver 30. I think he's almost a lock as a wide receiver 3 for a team. And that's me. I don't really like him as a player per se. I question his love of football and wanting to actually do this rather than it's a job that he can make money on. I think he's not really passionate about it, but I still think he's very talented. He's probably the best wide receiver on that team. Um, he's not exactly Drake London. He's not exactly Mike Evans. Those are the two closest comparisons, but I don't think he totally fits that. And I think he would probably be a really good #2 wide receiver for a team that had an elite one, but I don't think he's a true #1. He's just the closest that they have. And I think that gives him a wide receiver 3-4 in fantasy. They took him pretty high in the draft. They took him #8 overall.
I understand. I just think Bryce Young's going to struggle to throw for over 4,000 yards, and I think that caps off the offense, at least.
Who
right
else are they
now.
going to throw to?
I mean, Thielen's still there, who eats a ton of targets from Bryce Young and already has 2 years worth of chemistry with him. So that's a possibility. Just last year, I mean, Thielen was 48 catches, 615 yards in 10 games, half the season.
He's also older than dirt for an athlete.
That's why I have him at 62 catches, 831 yards.
I don't even have that much for Thielen. What do I have for you, Thielen?
I have Tet at 61 grabs, 118 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
I have 80 grabs, 907 yards, and 6.7 touchdowns.
For Tet?
Yep.
Dang,
I have Xavier Legette. I have him at 71 catches for 722 yards. And I have Adam Thielen at 51 catches for 506 yards.
Dang,
and Coker
dude.
below him.
Dang, dude. I have Bryce Young at 19 total touchdowns on the year, so that's going to be a problem.
I have him at 17.3.
So, how do those touchdowns fit into his?
What do you mean? I only listed the touchdowns for one player.
You gave me Legette's too. And Tuts.
Legette's is 4.4.
Yeah. So that's like over 11 for just those two players. Not including running backs, not including tight ends.
Thielen gets 3 points.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have it filtered to only wide receivers. Okay. I have 23 touchdowns, roughly.
For Bryce Young?
Yeah.
You just told me 17 for him.
Well, I had it only on wide receivers. So they're
Three's
all
a little high. I hope he gets 23. Don't get me wrong. But his previous stats haven't really lived up to that.
This is year 3. And it's everything's improved a little bit.
Make or break. All right, you ready for my #1 though?
Yeah, let's do it.
No one cares about Carolina, so we won't spend a lot of time on them. My #1 shouldn't be a surprise to you. ADP has him going at 12 overall right now, and I have him at 32 overall, and it's Mr. Ashton Genty. I currently have Genty at running back 16.
Yeah, you and I are way different on Genty. I have him at running back 4, and I'm completely happy. I'm completely happy with that.
I understand that, but he has to do his absolute best in year 1. Like, there's no wiggle room for growth or anything. You draft him at his ceiling.
It depends on what you mean by that.
How is running back 4 not a ceiling? You got 3 more spots before you're the top guy.
No, you can define ceiling by statistics and by points, not just where you're ranked.
Points are all relative, though. If you have the RB1, you have the RB.
Yeah, but RB1 on an overall down year doesn't mean as much as RB1 on a year when all running backs have good points. And
Well, if they all have good points, and wouldn't that be the same as if they're all down?
last year in general, running backs were more healthy than usual as a whole.
Okay, so shouldn't there be a regression to the mean then?
Yes, which means that Ashton Genty could absolutely finish as an RB4 with other running backs getting banged up. And this is a guy that had like 2,000 yards rushing in college. Like, yes, I know you say what happens in college happens in college, but he is someone that could potentially put 2,000 yards up in an NFL season at some point in his career. So him getting 1,200 rushing yards and 400 receiving yards or 350 receiving yards or anything like that is totally feasible.
I have him at 1,069 yards, 9 touchdowns rushing, 22 receptions for 217 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. So 11 total touchdowns in year one, which is very high.
I don't understand. I get that the hesitance to give a rookie good numbers. I feel like that might be lower than what you gave Bijan Robinson his rookie year. And I think Ashton Genty is a very physical, explosive running back. I think 1,000 yards is very low.
Yep. And he's got the number 2 running back from 2023. So we're what? 18 months removed from that right now on his roster. Plus Sincere McCormick, who was coming along just fine last year. They're all going to take from him. He's not going to get the workload that you think he does. Bijan did not. Gibbs did not. Running backs in year one do not get the load that you would like them to.
He's a different kind of back, and he's in a different kind of system. He's in a system that predominantly wants to give one back the majority of the carries. Now, Ohio State with Chip Kelly couldn't give that to Henderson because Henderson couldn't handle a full workload, which is why they brought Judkins into Ohio State. But anytime you can get an elite running back with a Pete Carroll offense, no matter who his OC is, they're going to give that guy the primary amount of carries. The only time Marshawn Lynch split was the year he was traded halfway through to the Seahawks. I think Genty is very much a Marshawn Lynch type running back. It doesn't matter that he's a rookie. I think it's the caliber of player that he is, that he's going to get a lot more stats if he's healthy the entire year. I think he'll get blow past your projections there. I don't see Sincere McCormick as that much of a threat. I definitely don't see Raheem Mostert as that much of a threat. Raheem Mostert really only thrived in the Miami offense and only for one season, and it was primarily because he got a lot of red zone carries and a lot of touchdowns, not necessarily that he was that effective. Miami's offense has crumbled. Mostert is getting older. I can't see either of those guys eating significantly into Genty's touches. They've made improvements on the offensive line. It's a brand new head coach, brand new offensive coordinator. Everything is improved. The quarterback is improved from everything that they had last year. That's the best situation he could get into fantasy wise is he's going to be the guy. We're just going to be very different on this, Jeff. Very different.
And you saw Tyler Algier getting a role with Atlanta year one.
I didn't see it making sense, but that's Arthur Smith's MO is basically never giving a guy significant lead. He always does a split back. Always, always, always. And we should have seen it coming in hindsight. I did see it coming with Gibbs because they already brought in Montgomery, and I liked Montgomery. I didn't see it coming with Bijan because I didn't think anyone would be stupid enough to do that. And Arthur Smith got fired from that job, so I think if somebody else drafted Bijan, I think he would have gotten the lead right away.
Maybe, but I think you also failed to realize that with the running back injuries, that Genty is also a running back and could be injured as well. So his injury concern is just as much as the rest of the guys.
I think there's always a possibility anyone can get injured. I feel like he is more robust than some of these other running backs.
Yeah, I think you're insane to take him over Henry, who was the third running back last year and has been rushing title leaders. Josh Jacobs, who was the fifth running back last year, has been a rushing title leader with a crappy Raiders line that really hasn't improved that much this year. So
Well,
we will see, but
it's funny that you mentioned Henry because Henry is my number one bust for the year. He's
okay,
being taken ADP in the top four.
I have him
I
four.
think so. 4 or 5 is typically where he goes. He is
Mhm.
an older running back. He had stellar numbers last year. I don't think he can keep it up this year. I don't think that he can get the workload that he had this year. Father time comes first. It's going to happen at some point. I'm betting on this year, but that said, he still finishes as an RB1. He just drops down to number 12 for me this year.
I don't get how you can have Genty over a Jonathan Taylor, who's been a rushing leader. Like, NFL's hard, way harder than college. And you're putting guys that have done it behind a guy that's like fresh from college.
Ah,
That'd be
I think
like entering a law firm and you go with the new guy instead of the guy that's seasoned and has seen it.
Yeah, we'll see, Jeff. But I almost had
We
McCaffrey on my bus list.
we get too excited for people coming out of college. That is my full point on this here. But I feel like also that we're listening to a rerun of last year and maybe even the year before about Father Time and Derrick Henry. And I'm sure I could go back and find a podcast where you've said exactly the same thing that you've said right now. Eventually it'll be right. I just don't know.
I mean, the Ravens were as good of a fit as you could put him to be as effective as he was. But I don't see him getting, what was it, 18 touchdowns that he got last year? 16 or 18? I don't think he'll get as many. I think his yardage will drop maybe 100 yards from the previous year. So between the two, that drops him a little bit lower, but he's still an RB1
Yeah,
for
he had
whatever it's worth.
18 touchdowns. He had 1921 rushing. I have him at 1548 rushing and 15 total touchdowns, and he still finishes RB.
Yeah, I can't put him that high, but like I said, he's still an RB.
Yeah. I don't put people these places. Their production and their stats put them. And I have him actually with a declining multiplier, so I do believe that he's declining also, but he still finished RB4 with.
Well, he's slowing down speed-wise. He got lucky that he went to a very physical offensive line that had a mobile quarterback and an okay defense
Yeah.
last
You've
year.
always hated his rushing style, though, because he's never been a guy that's been a burner. He's always been a guy that picks it up as the game goes on. And he did have a very long run last year against the Buffalo Bills that kind of won them the game in the regular season.
He is he is the elite tier version of Najee Harris too. Like they run both very physical and they progressively get slower and slower. So I think he's going to turn more into a short yardage guy. Keaton Mitchell should be healthy. I think Keaton Mitchell will eat into his carries a little bit. I don't really like Justice Hill that much in fantasy.
Yeah, I was
So,
going to say, you're going to say Justice Hill too. But
no.
how do you prepare for Henry and Lamar back there? You don't, because one's fast and one's power.
I'm not excited about the Ravens offense this year for whatever reason.
Yeah, I
Can't
don't know
I
why. They even added DeAndre Hopkins as a third wide receiver. I don't get it. They have two tight ends that are great, bunch of young wide receivers, plus Hopkins.
I just think the Cleveland Browns with Shador Sanders are just going to be too much for them now.
You have them winning the division too, so that's all very strange.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how to put my thumb on it, but it's more like they're going to win the division because the other teams are going to struggle for various reasons. Like the Steelers don't have a quarterback. The Bengals and the Steelers both might have their best edge rushers sit out. Bengals might have two edge rushers sit out if they don't sign their rookie soon. They're trying to cheat him on some money, which is ridiculous. The Browns are probably going to be fairly bad overall. So, I mean, it de facto makes the Ravens the favorite.
Right. Dang. Some spirited discussion here.
So I want to say that Henry is one of my favorite NFL running backs of this generation.
You can't say that now.
I really liked him on the Titans, and I want him to get a ring, but he's running out of time, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Panthers are a contender this year. I always root for the Buffalo Bills, so that kind of knocks the Ravens down a notch.
We've gone to Buffalo, just like our league mate Eddie kept pushing for.
There you go. Good old Eddie.
Anyway, I think that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to the show, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of our bust. Every little bit helps. Thank you guys.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.